More than 700,000 immigrants are protected by the Obama-era Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program known as DACA. But in 2017, Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced the Trump administration would be ending the program, putting those young, undocumented immigrants at risk of being deported. Tomorrow, the Supreme Court will hear arguments on the legal challenges to the administration's decision to end it. CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez interviewed 4 dreamers, including 2 who are named as plaintiffs in the litigation.
What would the program's potential termination mean for you?
Well, as I have a daughter now, so it would separate me from my family, or perhaps not allow me to do the best that I could, just because I would have fear of deportation. That's the main thing.
If you had the rare opportunity to stand before the 9 justices and argue your case in front of them, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that I am just a human being who came to this country looking for better opportunities. I haven't done anything wrong. I belong in this country. This is the place that I grew up and where my friends and families are.
I grew up in the United States. I've been here since I was 3. This is my home. This is the place that I want to continue living in. This is where I have built everything that I know. To put me at risk to go back to a place that I don't know and that isn't home is just not right.
And how does it feel to have your name on such a big legal case?
I think it's very inspiring because that was the only way that I had to fight for my community, for my immigrant community, but most importantly for my family. I have 2 children that were born here, and they are the main reason why I became part of the lawsuit and why I marched 230 miles from New York to D.C.
You consider yourself an American?
I am. I do consider myself American in every single way of the papers.
And Camilo Montoya-Galvez joins me now from Washington. Hi, Camilo. Tell us more about these cases and why the Supreme Court agreed to hear them.
All right, so good afternoon, Tanya. So after the administration decided to end DACA in the fall of 2017, there was a flurry of legal challenges to halt the controversial move. States like New York and California, advocacy groups across the country, and even companies like Microsoft sued the administration, and soon after, the decision to end the program was held up in court. Several lower courts issued nationwide injunctions that have up until now kept the Obama-era program alive. Last year, the administration asked the Supreme Court to take up the case, and after months of litigation, the court will finally hear tomorrow arguments from both sides to ultimately decide whether it will allow the administration to end these key protections from deportation for hundreds of thousands of young undocumented immigrants who came to the U.S. as children, Tanya.
So, of course, one of the arguments for DACA or in favor of the Dreamers is that they came to this country as children under, conditions they couldn't control. So it is wrong to, punish the child for the quote unquote sins of the adult per se. So what is the argument against that? What is the argument for deporting these Dreamers?
Well, the administration hasn't necessarily made a case for deporting DACA recipients, but it has made a case for ending their protections, right? Because they believe the program that President Obama instituted in 2012 was unlawful. But of course, the rationale for ending the program has shifted on several occasions, and that is one of the arguments that plaintiffs will make on Tuesday on behalf of Dreamers, that the administration did not offer a thorough justification to end the program and end these key protections from deportation for what are, by every definition, productive members of society.
So if the Trump administration succeeds in this legal battle, when will we start seeing an impact on Dreamers and their families?
Right, so for the about 700,000 immigrants in this program, the end of DACA would have very steep consequences. As the Dreamers we spoke to yesterday said, this group of immigrants will no longer have protections from deportation. They will lose their work permits, their driver's licenses, social security numbers, things that, Tanya, we might take for granted, but that are essential, really, to make a living and to be successful here in the U.S. And studies have shown that the end of DACA would also contract the U.S. economy, and that's partly why we've seen so many big-name companies like Apple and Microsoft, all who employ Dreamers, ask the court to keep the program alive. And that's also exactly why those who want the program to continue are making their case, regardless of the emotional and human consequences of exposing these immigrants to potential deportation. They don't believe it is sound policy to expel young people who have studied here, who are contributing to the economy, and like I said before, who are by every definition on paper productive members of society.
Right, and Camilo, didn't polls reveal as much that most Americans, despite how hardline they are on immigration in general, seem to have some sympathy for these young people who were brought here by no fault of their own?
Yeah, in recent years, the Republican Party has taken a more hardline stance on immigration and has widely opposed quote-unquote amnesty for immigrants, but we've seen in polling and polls after polls really that many Republicans, are more compassionate when it comes to this group of immigrants. They know that many of these people, the vast majority actually, have no ties to other countries other than the U.S., that they grew up here, that most of them speak fluent English. They came here when they were little through no fault of their own, of course, and that they're contributing to the economy. So there is an economic factor at play here as well.
All right, so when will we know one way or the other how the court rules on this?
We don't know, right? And what we also don't know is what type of decision the court is going to make, right? The court can either say, yes, the administration can end this program, and that would eventually lead to the end of protections for these group of immigrants, or the court can also say that no, the administration cannot end this program, or it can also say that the administration can end this program, but that it must offer a new justification for ending it that complies with federal administrative law. So there's a lot of potential scenarios
possible
we can
outcomes.
expect.
Yes, exactly. All right, well, Camilo Montoya-Galvez, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tanya.